Olivieri from Olivieri Chiropractic in Rio Grande. And Dr. Bob, nice to see you again.
Hey, Derek, it's nice to see you again.
Yeah.
You know, we spent many years together on the air, and it was a nice surprise when I walked in today and I saw you here.
I unlocked the door, and I was like, I wonder if Bob knows that I'm going to be the one unlocking the door so you can get into the studio.
I did not know that.
Excellent.
So, what a pleasant
great
surprise.
To see you.
Yeah, it's great seeing
holidays.
you too.
Hope your summer went well.
It was
How are
great.
things at the shop? I call it the shop, you know.
Yeah, life is great.
Yeah.
I mean, really, seriously, everything's spectacular.
Good, you look good.
We had 15 new patients call in yesterday, so that's a good day.
That sounds like full enrollment.
Within one day, yeah, that's a big day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've been very busy. People are
Still giving away TVs?
we do on the actually. Do you know what we're doing? We have a Santa
Put
drive.
you on the spot with that? I didn't mean
No, we have Toys for Tots going on in our office, and every single time somebody brings in a toy, we give them a ticket. And so what it is we're going to put it in a bowl and draw a ticket, and yeah, they're going to win a television for that.
There you go. So
I don't want to
TVs.
I don't want to I think if you're being generous during the holiday season and you're giving to kids, and you should see the beautiful gifts that are coming into our office, and we have 2 boxes that are full in there for toys for the community. But I just figured, why not, also give incentive to the people that are actually giving a little bit. So, it was nice, and so yeah, we're giving away some televisions. Cool. Actually, I have a little surprise. If I'm probably going to do 2 drawings and give away 2 TVs just for the people that are, because they're generous. This is the holiday season, and
wow.
and we also have another competition going on.
Tickets is what you're saying.
We also have another competition going on in our office. We have a gingerbread contest. All the staff got together, pulled names, and we have 4 gingerbread houses that all the patients that are coming in are actually voting on. Right. And I believe.
Do they get to taste any of these things?
No, they're gingerbread. You can't do that. But they're very creative. I have to say, this is an extremely close contest this year. I think I'm in second place.
Wait, you made a gingerbread house?
Yeah, the staff did. We got together teams, and so we have all the patients vote on them. It's really fun. I'm telling you, we're never bored in our office. We have a phenomenal staff, and I thank God every single day for them. I think people show up to see our staff, not necessarily the doctors, but
not necessarily you. Is what you're saying.
Absolutely not. I'm just like a byproduct there. I really do show up.
I don't believe that.
Yeah, it's true. But
15 minutes past 8 o'clock, we are talking about some new things, some new developments.
I am super.
When I left, it was.
Yeah, this. Yeah, now small. Now it's big. Yeah. I am super excited. Like stoked, as we would say during my surfing years. I am so excited about to announce. We've been hinting about this for the last couple months, but we are going to have a brand new Feel Great in 8 program starting in January. When we started Feel Great in 8 a little over 6 years ago, my goal was, after I got my degree in functional medicine, my goal was to actually change the lives of Cape May County the community, and really try to influence them in the most positive way I could possibly do that. I started talking about GMO foods. We started talking about gluten. I remember people saying that, a very good friend of mine who's a GI guy was telling me that was kind of quackery, some of the leaky gut syndromes. Oh, that doesn't exist. Well, I think right now, if anybody's really listening here, I think by now, after 7 years, America has become a much better educated community, understanding the significance of genetically modified foods that cause severe damage. When we used to talk about health really comes from your intestines, and your intestines control your immune system, controls brain function, controls every other aspect of cellular activity. That was quackery 7 years ago. Now the community is saying, hey, even television now, they're talking about probiotics and things along those lines, where, that's really out of the realm of drug, right? Probiotic is a natural thing that should be happening.
What's that Erin Andrews?
Right.
She does that probiotics
Right,
commercial.
Exactly. She gathers in little kids. Hey, let's talk about a serious subject. Probiotics, really? Come on. But that's what it is. I mean, people are becoming a little bit more aware that health does not come in pill form. Health comes from within, and there are many mechanisms that you can do to influence all the different things in your body to actually change people's lives significantly. So I decided, myself and a couple other people, and really strongly influenced by the community, the Feel Great in 8 community that we've developed of the hundreds of people who have gone through our program, to say the time is ready. That the people are ready right now. The time is right to be able to implement a true functional medicine program in Cape May County. Quit saying people in Cape May County don't understand and they don't, they're not going to get it or anything like that. I think they are, and the world is ready. I will tell you right now. That's all. You Google, leaky gut, you're going to probably have about 1,000 different videos on what leaky gut is. So no longer are the days that, we don't understand this. This is quackery. Here, take your metformin and take your hydrochloric acid. medications for whatever your problem is to be able to, take care of it. We know that our body has enough of the proper things to heal itself. We just need the guidance. So how do you know that? You have to do that through diagnostic testing. And so we're going to have this diagnostic testing put together in our Feel Great Nate program as an option that is, truly is going to change people's lives. If you can't get up in the day, you're fatigued, you're miserable, you got brain fog, you can't lose weight, your hormones are way out of whack, all those other things, this program is for you. So we're going to get into a lot of detail in a couple minutes. And
we're going to talk about the actual testing, right?
Yep, we're going to talk about all the testing involved in this. Super excited about this.
Dr. Bob in on the program with me, Derek Peace, who's filling in for Phil Pizzi as he's away on a well-earned vacation. We're talking about the new diagnostic testing, the comprehensive diagnostic testing that is part of Feel Great in 8. That's being put on by Dr. Bob and his crew, and let's get into it.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about...
No, hold on. Let's get into it with your microphone on. There you go.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the different testing that we're going to be doing through the Feel Great Nate program, which really kind of like does detective work of really trying to reveal some underlying conditions that probably haven't been previously detected. I can promise you all but the very first test is something that I'm pretty darn sure you've never had done. I don't care what practitioner you've gone to, unless it was a specialist, unless it was whether it was a medical doctor, a DO, or somebody that was specializing in functional medicine, because that is a specialty now within the healthcare system. And when I attend these conferences, very few chiropractors are there. Usually you're sitting next to a medical doctor that's an endocrinologist or an internal medicine specialist, or now a big movement is pediatrics, because a lot of pediatricians do not want to give antibiotics to these young kids because it's killing their intestinal flora, which is really the basis of their immune system sooner or later down the line. So it's kind of like working in a reversed way that it's intended to go. So the first one we're going to talk about is blood work, okay? But it's not necessarily your just typical blood work. But initially, we're going to start out with your typical a blood chemistry and a CBC. We're going to add a hemoglobin A1C, which is your blood sugar, which is evaluated over a 3-month period of time. We're going to check ferritin, which really reflects the amount of iron stored within the cell, which is really important to evaluate. We're going to look for a certain type of fatigue factors. We're going to do a more comprehensive thyroid panel than just a TSH panel or a T3, T4 panel. We're going to be looking for more of things that influence the cellular activity, including the autoimmune types of panels with the thyroid. We're going to look at CRP. C-reactive protein really is looking for general levels of inflammation. Inflammation is the big killer. If you've ever listened to this radio show and you ever hear me talk about stuff, we talk about autoimmune conditions and we talk about chronic disease, inflammation is at the core. Again, 7 years ago when I was talking about this, and 15 years ago when one of my closest friends on this planet, who's also a functional neurologist, chiropractic neurologist, wrote a book on, everybody was saying that's quackery. Now, it is the model we use for heart disease and for many other conditions. It's the model we're starting to use for Alzheimer's and all the neurodegenerative diseases. That cholesterol model is archaic. Nobody uses it anymore. Well, some people use it, but it's driven pharmaceutically. It's pharmaceutically driven, and it's not by big drug companies. It's not driven by science, that's for sure. We're going to be looking at vitamin D levels, but we're not just going to look at We're going to look at the 25-OH, but we're also going to look at the 125-OH because we want to see the inactive form of vitamin D and the active form of vitamin D. It's extremely important when we're starting to look at autoimmune conditions. So we're going to look at that and what regulates those. We're also going to look at this blood work in a different way. We're going to look at ranges what are considered to be normal. So if you look at a blood work, and if you look at if you take something from LabCorp and you look at blood glucose levels, normal ranges are 65 to 99. Well, come on, that's a huge, huge range in there. So we don't want to look at that because I'm telling you, if you're walking around with a blood sugar level at 65, you're almost comatose. You're so far out of it and fatigued all the time. But if you're walking at 66, you're within normal ranges, right? Okay, so we're not looking at that. We're going to look at healthy levels because those normal ranges are based upon averages taken within a region of the United States. So California normal ranges are different than New Jersey normal ranges, which seems absurd because you would think normal is normal is normal, but that's not what they do. It's regionally based, and it's based upon the people that get blood work. Who gets blood work? Sick people. I don't want to be average amongst sick people. I want to be average in a healthy range. So we're going to look at, let's just say blood glucose levels. We're going to look at 80 to 95. We're going to say we want to direct you towards 80 to 95. Less than 80, not so good. Hypoglycemic levels happen during the course of the day, and above that, hyperglycemia, and it can get up into above 100 and pre-diabetes and all that stuff. So we're going to look at these ranges, and we're going to look at it. So every single element that we're evaluating, we're looking at this functional range, not the normal ranges, but the ideal range. What's the healthy range we want to be in? That is so cool when you're really actually starting to look for patterns of starting to go. So you're getting a condition before it starts to degenerate. So anything that's out of those ideal ranges, let's start paying attention to. So I think that's brilliant. I mean, and that's just in the normal blood chemistry that we're looking at. So what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to map out where we want to start somebody nutritionally. So it starts with some of the blood work. The next portion that we're going to get into, we'll talk about in a minute, but we're going to get into certain types of hormone testing. We're going to look at cortisol levels, which are the stress hormones. We're going to look at some of the sex hormones, and we're going to talk about how we're going to look at that in a minute, and in a different way than it's ever been looked at.
In the studio, Dr. Bob, who is usually here on Tuesdays, talking about the comprehensive diagnostic testing that is part of the Feel Great and 8 program, and how it is not just your normal run-of-the-mill testing. They get to the heart of the problem almost immediately.
We do. We check so many.
Could I be a spokesman for you?
I'm telling you, it is. I can guarantee you it will be the most comprehensive program that you've ever gone through, even if you've seen another functional medicine specialist with this. The next, I know I only have a minute, so the next test I'm going to talk about is we're going to do some stool samples with you. So you're going to take a 2-part stool sample from 2 different days to actually look for things such as certain types of bacteria, parasites, yeast that actually can be growing in your intestines. Your microbiome, the good healthy bacteria that lives in your small intestines, they're finding out now, and we know more about this in the last 5 years than we've ever known about it ever before in science. And so you're looking at neurologists now for like things like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's stuff, looking to the intestines for the causes of these chronic diseases. Inflammatory markers are a big disease, or a big deal you have to look at. But when you look at the health of the intestines, it's extremely important. It's going to affect your health all the way through. So we do some stool analysis looking for these parasites, these bacteria, these certain types of yeast infections, and see if they're actually there. Now, a standard stool test doesn't necessarily look for any of the genetic markers. Lots of times they call it O&P. You're looking for a parasite or an ovum, and you'll look underneath a microscope for those things. But quite often that will be missed. So the testing that we're doing is genetic markers. So we're going to see whether they're actually existing, not necessarily just in the stool sample that you're looking at, but all through the entire pathway in here. Now, what's the seriousness of these? These are actually bugs living in your body. And they usually say anywhere between 18 to 22% of the population have those. They're hidden, and they're in there, and they're hiding under these things called biofilms. That's creating ill health in 18 to 22% of the population. So does everybody have that? No, but if you have some conditions that you don't understand why you can't lose weight, why you're always fatigued, your body's fighting off a continual immune response, because guess what these parasites and bacteria do? They poop. Right? So they're actually in your intestines providing serious illness to you, and you don't even know.
Excreting illness.
Correct.
Ew.
And so we have things to actually kill those off. But more importantly, you got to detect those. The ideal situation. Now, Feel Great and 8 program has always provided things that actually kill those off anyway. But we want to make sure, are they absolutely, totally, completely gone? Because that's the basis before you can start to move on to all this other testing we're going to talk about in a minute. You can't fix somebody's hormones if their intestinal integrity is not good and their microbiome is not healthy. So you have to get that fixed first. So Feel Great and 8 is a sequential, logical thought process to be able to go and get somebody healthy. And you can't just take random shots at each one of these things. We're going to go through a whole system to be able to get you better.
Talking to Dr. Bob from Olivieri Chiropractic in Rio Grande. Dr. Bob, your final segment. Let's get things wrapped up with all this testing. This is exciting news.
Yes, it is very, very exciting as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's detective work. I love this stuff. I love somebody coming in and saying, you know something, I don't understand what's wrong with me. I've tried all these different things. It's not really working. I've had all these different testing. People really don't know what's going on. They've been playing around with my hormones. They've been playing around with my thyroid medication. They've been playing around with my, my blood sugar stuff, and I don't really know what's going on here. And you have to have a systematic approach. This is not treating disease. I want to be really, really clear about that. That's why you have your family doctor. What this is this is allowing your body to function optimally. People spend all their lives working their tail off to gain something, like some money or something, working hard towards retirement. And you turn around. My father used to preach this to me. If you do not have your health, you have nothing. So I see all these people working so hard towards retirement, and at the end, they're really, when they're in their 50s or 60s, they act like they're in their 90s. They're not healthy. They're not healthy at all. They can't really enjoy life because they can't run around. They can't play with their grandkids. They can't even play, go out and do activities with their own kids. I usually see the hormonal changes going on with females. Really, it's in their 40s. It starts a little bit in their late 30s, but really in the 40s is profound effect where people they're really kind of like not doing so well. These testing is kind of like you're a detective to be able to try to find out the underlying portion of it, and you have to do all the different tests. So the next one we're going to talk about is some saliva testing, and what we're really doing is we're measuring free fraction hormones. Well, why saliva testing and not blood work? Blood tests really only measure bound hormones that are found in the patient's tissue. Saliva testing measures free or unbound hormones that are actually available for the body to use now. So we want to actually know what are the hormones that your body's actually using and how they're not using them properly, as opposed to what's wrapped up in the tissues. So what do we test? Well, the first hormone that we tested is your stress test, your adrenal stress testing. And what does that do? Well, it measures the energy cycle throughout your day. So if you're finding out that you're fatigued in the morning or fatigued in midday or fatigued at the end of the night and you're not sleeping really well, you want to look at your cortisol level patterns to be able to see, is this flowing the way it's supposed to? Cortisol should be very high in the morning and very low at night. Melatonin, which is a hormone that works in opposition to cortisone, should be very low in the morning and very high at night, right? We all know that melatonin helps you sleep. So you want to look at these patterns throughout the course of the day and try to influence them, because it's really your energy cycle. If you're fatigued all the time, I can tell you without a doubt your cortisol patterns are thrown off. And so we're going to try to look at that. Well, what influence does it have? It has an effect on your muscles and joints. It looks at your bone health, your immune health. It's your sleep quality, even like your thyroid function. It influences. It has an awful lot to do with chronic fatigue. It influences tremendously your blood sugar dysregulation throughout the course of the day, and it has a lot to depression and ADD and ADHD. So you want to really influence this, and how do you do it? You have to do it through saliva testing. With the saliva testing, what else do we do? Well, we look at your hormone panels, your sex hormone panels, whether it's a female hormone panel or whether it is the male hormone panels, because males have just as much problem with their hormones, but they really don't really complain that much about them, or they're I don't know what it really is. They don't like to talk about it as much. But if your man's walking around grumpy all the time, I guarantee there's some problems. So if we have somebody that's actually ovulating and they're having problems throughout their entire cycle, what we're going to do is, this is brilliant. I mean, I think, I'm telling you, Derek, this is just brilliant. What we do is we look at their actually hormones throughout their cycle from 28 days. So we're going to, every 3 days, they're going to do a saliva test. So we're going to get a chance to see, and we're going to graph that, right? So if you're getting your hormones tested, usually wherever you're getting them tested, what do? They look at a single day. That's what they're looking at. Usually it's like between day 18 and day 22, usually. But we're looking at it all the way through, so we can graft you. Guess what? Sometimes your progesterone is going up in an area that it shouldn't be going up in. Sometimes it's going in the very first phase of your cycle. Well, that's really throwing you off, right? Because it's supposed to be high in the second part of the cycle. Sometimes it's not enough. So what we're doing here is we're looking at this very clear map, this beautiful map of how you're supposed to be ovulating and how your cycle is supposed to be going. And we get a chance to see when there's glitches in there throughout that coursework. It's truly, it's brilliant, looking at both the follicular phase, the ovulation, and the luteal phase in the way that's supposed to, we can draw out a map and see that. It's life-changing for so many females. It truly is. Males, we do something very similar, but when you have hormonal imbalances in males, usually it's age-related, 40 to 50, but you'll start to see a decrease in muscle mass and strength, decrease in energy, definitely a decrease in libido, insomnia, nervousness, depression, all these things. So you want to look at both the cortisol levels and their hormone levels to be able to influence them and make some significant impact in their life. And again, this is all still part of the Feel Great Nate program.
Amazing. I mean, what you've already said. Now, I don't want to misquote. It's been a while since I've had a chance to talk about this. What is all this? What's the initial cost? It's like you're giving this thing away, aren't you, kind of?
Well, unfortunately, we're trying to...
Unfortunately for us, unfortunately for you.
Yeah, well... this is a whole new program. So what we're doing with this is you have two different choices in this. You always have to come to a workshop to explain this, and we're having one this Thursday night. But there's two parts to it. There's still the basic Feel Great Nate program they have, and then we have the Feel Great Nate Expanded, which is what we call the advanced portion of that. The advanced portion involves all of this, and it's not an 8-week program, but it is a 6 to 8 month program. And so you're getting consultations. You're going to be getting lifestyle management. We're going to be getting food analysis. We're going to be doing all these different things. This is for somebody that really needs their hand held for a 6 to 8 month period of time to say, I've been sick. I don't feel good. I've tried everything else. Let me at least look for something out.
I need help.
I need help.
How do we get signed up for Thursday for the class, for the seminar?
Thursday, you just have to call our office at 886-8585, and you